Welcome to another episode of the Bastard Sermon. It's your host, Luke Young.
Lloyd Johnson.
And joining us...
From Fuck You We Like the Bengals, Alex Schubert.
Yeah!
Look at Big Schubes in the house.
Big Schubes in the house. He's here to join us and take over Cody Hucker's spot because Cody's doing some boyfriend duties.
What a baby.
Yeah, he swears, listeners, though, it'll be a while before he disappears on y'all again. But don't worry.
The guy who's disappeared for 3 Patreons in a row.
Really?
No, I left halfway through one, and then I wasn't there at all for another.
Yeah, there you go.
But I've been there.
No, Cody's he's doing stuff for his girlfriend's birthday. That's a fair reason.
Happy birthday,
very
Chrissy.
Her name's Chrissy.
Miss Ungrew.
Miss Ungrew.
Go ahead and hit her up at her tattoo shop. I'm
already did before the show.
Yeah, blanking on the name. Yeah, go find her on Instagram and Facebook, Chrissy Ungrew, and go get some tattoos by her. Go throw some money. Tip her big.
Love it.
Yeah, she's a cool kid.
Yeah,
nice.
Man. All right, so Alex, you and Lloyd make up Fuck You We Like the Bengals.
Yes, we do. It's a football podcast. We talk football. Lloyd gives me shit. Then during the season, we write jokes about players.
we whatever team the Bengals playing, we write roast jokes about the whole other team.
Yeah.
It's a labor of love.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I get to flex to actually write shit and make new jokes, which I never do because I don't do stand up. But
yeah,
I like the idea, I like the concept of how that works.
Plus, it for me, I've been a comic for over 9 years now, so it allows me to work out my joke writing and roast joke writing muscles,
really?
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few good ones there.
Yeah, you have.
Glass
Kyle about a player named Tyler Eifert who used to play for the Bengals.
He got injured constantly, and
he looks like a guy named Kyle.
When you look at him or hear him talk, he looks like he has a Monster Energy tattoo somewhere on his body.
God, he's something.
So I just would start referring to him as Glass Kyle, and I like that one a lot.
Has he still to this day been getting just constant, frequent injuries?
He's just not what he once was.
Yeah. I think he's been injured 3 different major injuries.
Yeah, the 4 games a year when he's healthy. Tyler Eifert's great.
Glass cannon.
Yeah.
Someone said about another player, Jordan Reed. He used to play for the Washington Redskins. I'll say it because that's what it was then. He said, saying Jordan Reed is made of glass is insulting to the structural integrity of glass.
I was on one of the episodes. I was trying to remember the fucking joke I wrote about the Jacksonville guy,
Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
He looks like he. What the fuck was it? He looks like he wrote a book called How to Hit on Girls Who Don't Wear Socks with Their Shoes.
something like that. And if you look at him, it's very dead
He's
on.
like Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite.
And he plays for Jacksonville, which is just of course you
do. Duval.
All right. Anyway,
yeah, let's enough football.
Alex, you're a comic. You've been a comic for a long time.
I don't know how they keep letting me do shows.
No, you're a funny guy. Quit kicking.
Thank you. No, I give myself shit.
What was your startup in a comedy?
So my startup in comedy was when I was in high school. I wrote monologue jokes. So I would watch Conan, Jay Leno, David Letterman,
late night hosts,
the late night guys.
Yeah,
and I would come home from school every day and just watch their monologues because it's just how I learned to write a joke.
Yeah.
So I got home from school every day, watched those, wrote some jokes of my own. I have a blog that's still out there. I'll update it every now and then with jokes I've written, topical jokes I've written. But then and how I really got started with really taking it seriously, quote unquote, was I found a New York Times blog called Laugh Lines. And you could submit jokes to there. And first time I made it, I'm like, oh my God, I've made it in comedy.
Yeah.
So I just and the joke was fucking terrible, but I made it and I was like, I'm going to do this forever now. Because it was that first, when you have that big social media post that gets that big,
buzz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was that one. I'm just like, I'm going to keep chasing this because I loved it so much. And I think I got on there like a few dozen times, but it was not anything big. But then it's just how I learned to write a joke. And then when I got to college, I started doing open mics and doing shows, going to Go Bananas, and then just fucking took off from there.
Aside from late night hosts, like who else were you watching?
When I first started, my favorite comic, and he's still one of my favorite comics to this day, is Greg Giraldo.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Oh my god.
There's only been a handful of times where someone famous died, and I got genuinely bummed out.
Yeah.
And as I was thinking about this one other time when I said it when I was talking to a friend at work, I realized almost all of those were comics.
Yeah.
Like Sean Rouse died, I was fucking bummed.
Yeah, him and Giraldo used to tour together with Attell, who, by the way, Dave Attell is my favorite comic.
Yeah. Dave Attell's amazing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's in my top 3.
What was because I love to talk about this. Like, where were you, and what was your first introduction to an actual comedian in comedy?
Oh, I don't know if I've ever gotten this question before.
Yeah, that's Are you
Were
saying
you
like the first time I saw live comedy?
Or no, like discovered comedians.
Oh, my dad used to like when he would like on a Saturday he would just like shut everything down. He had this ridiculous sound stereo system like from when his party days.
Yeah.
Which never really stopped happening. But you know what I mean. Like right after he got out of the military, he bought this ridiculous fucking like these crazy speakers that were like painful to be in a room with, and he would just play whatever albums he had as we all cleaned the house and did chores and shit.
Yeah.
And it would be Metallica, Kill 'Em All, followed by George Carlin, and then Pink Floyd, followed by Red Fox. Like, so it was just always like I like 4 or 5 years old, walking around the house and hearing like the words you can't say on TV. Like,
oh,
and like I'm a massive comedy nerd, and I've never dove into George Carlin.
really?
dude,
It took me a long time. I don't think I really knew how big of a deal Carlin was till I was like 17. And I did,
Really?
yeah, and that was really also when I first started diving into him. Like, I definitely heard of him before. I had seen him. I listened to his bits, but when I finally found like my niche of friends, and they're like, "Fucking Carlin! Like, have you seen this special?" I was like, "No, like I've heard of him. I haven't seen this." Like, you haven't fucking seen Carlin? You haven't? I'm like, "No." So like, yeah, I did a big dive. It took, I was a bit older before I found out about that dude.
He died like before I like really started to take comedy
he
seriously.
died a couple of weeks after playing the Taft Theater here in Cincinnati.
No
A
shit.
show I was at.
No shit.
Yep.
You remember who opened?
I don't think he had no, but I think we did it like Broadway style for those.
No shit.
Yeah, I think he just. I think for those, especially like those last runs he was doing, where he wasn't in the greatest health and whatever. I think he just
How did
would
he
come
die?
out.
It was cancer, wasn't it?
I don't know. I think I don't remember what they classified. I think I heard different things and never actually looked to see what the real thing was, because I heard like, oh yeah,
Heart
heart
failure.
attack. Yeah.
Died of heart failure.
Okay.
And then I heard someone else mention that he had cancer, and I didn't remember that from anything, but I didn't know enough to dispute it.
I mean, it's undeniably one of the greatest of all time.
Oh yeah.
Dude, he has a special that the first time I watched it, I remember being like, I'm gonna watch this 100 times.
Yeah.
Which special was it?
It might have, I can't remember the name of it now. I have it on fucking DVD somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's the one where he does a joke about if I'm gonna pray, if I pray to God 50-50, why bother? I'm gonna pray to Joe Pesci. That seems like a dude who can get some shit done.
Yeah.
And then the other half of my belief system is gonna be the sun. I can see the sun. It gives us life. It gives us warmth. It makes the plants grow. So it's actually getting shit done
think I've
too.
seen that fucking- yeah.
It's I'm doing the bit no justice whatsoever. But I remember watching that special and just being like, I know I'm gonna watch this 100 times.
What was your introduction to comedy?
I was just about to say, so the first comedian I remember watching, and take this as you may, was Jeff Foxworthy.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember watching him. I mean, I was like when I first watched Foxworthy, I was like 23. I'm kidding. I was like 11 or 12.
So you guys are about the same age.
How old are you?
I'm 27, 28 in December.
28, 29 in August.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I was just like,
I always forget how young you guys are. You're like, I didn't discover crawling until I'm 17. I'm like,
Yeah.
how? What? Oh yeah, that's right.
When he was already a well-accomplished comedian, like, yeah.
No, the first one I remember watching was Foxworthy because my stepdad at the time, he was a huge asshole, but like he
Alex killed him.
Sick.
He had an old DVD of Jeff Foxworthy. I think it was recorded at the Taft.
Yeah.
And I just remember watching it repeatedly over and over again. And I was so young, and the only thing I watched was the fucking "You Might Be a Redneck" jokes.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I mean, he was a decent joke writer, and he was unavoidable at one point.
Yeah.
Like, he was
him and Engvall, the "Here's Your Sign"
Yeah,
era, like holy fuck.
There's no
like I've
Geraldo.
never had a big fan of Engvall at all.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
Foxworthy, I don't care for his
style.
or just even his material, but I can recognize that
Yeah.
that dude can write a joke.
Yeah.
That's like I have clips on something of fuck, I was about to say his name, Dan, Larry the Cable Guy,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
but it was under Dan Whitney or whatever his
Yeah.
real name is.
Before his identity.
Yeah, before he started doing that on
Really?
radio shows. Yeah.
How was he?
Good. He's a good joke writer. He knows how to do what he was doing. He
It's
just
strange to say that about like Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah.
right.
But I've seen some of his stuff. I'm like, he actually does. I'm not saying he's like one of the best comics, but I'm like, he knows how to write a joke, and not only that, he knows how to captivate an audience.
Yeah.
Not only an audience, but his audience with the get her done shit.
Yeah.
People eat that shit up because they're fucking 48 IQs and.
had to take the sister out for a nice date.
My my introduction into comedy was really weird and fast because like
Eddie Murphy stuck 2 fingers in his butthole.
Eddie Murphy was involved. Like I remember going through, like I lived with my grandma with my parents for some years. We had moved around after my parents had split and got back together, and we ended up at my grandma's house. And there was this like entertainment center next to the TV that was filled with like a fuckload of CDs of like old singers and shit from my grandma's age and whatnot. But I had seen one white album in the mix of like grays and yellows that said Bill Cosby in the air.
Okay.
And I
The
listened to
newly
it,
released Bill Cosby.
and I listened to it, and I remember my mom saying I'd never seen anyone listen to a comedy album with a straight face. I thought it was really funny, but I had my earphones on with my CD player next to me, straight faced, eyes open, and I was like, this man's famous from doing this.
Yeah.
Like, you can talk and get famous.
Yeah.
And then after I was done with that, my mom goes into her room and she pulls out these 3 DVDs, 2 of which are unrelated to the one that's important. One is Eddie Murphy's Raw.
Yeah.
So I went from Up in the Air, Bill Cosby,
Wholesome.
to Eddie Murphy's Raw.
They had to count. I think it was I think it was Delirious where they counted how many times he cursed.
It was fucking nuts.
He said like fuck, shit, and the other F word.
Yeah. I knew, like, I seen
much.
Dr. Doolittle and shit. I was like, what?
The same
guy?
dude.
Yeah,
That
that
guy had a
and-
song with Michael
and then,
Jackson
like,
that everybody seems to have forgotten happened.
Which one? I forget.
He had a song with Michael Jackson.
What?
Yeah.
I think I remember
It's
hearing
called
about
like
this.
"Was Up with You" or something like that.
The other 2 albums or DVDs were like it was SNL like comedy compilation sketches.
Okay.
One was like the Blues Brothers. Fuck, what is his name?
John Belushi.
John Belushi. It was a compilation of John Belushi sketches from SNL, like
Oh,
the
perfect.
Samurai Deli and whatnot, and
You know, he
all
was in
that
the first
shit.
ever SNL sketch.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was in the first ever SNL. John Belushi was.
That's amazing.
Yep.
It's kind of amazing how amazing that show was to not at all.
And think about how many people like from that initial cast like became like superstars.
Gods.
Like Chevy Chase, even though I've heard he's like a massive asshole.
Yeah, I have heard that too.
Bill Murray,
Yeah.
Gilda Radner. John Belushi.
That
Whole cast.
yeah.
And it didn't even stop there. Like, it kept going for years,
No, I
too.
mean, you get into like the era where you had Farley and Sandler and fucking Norm Macdonald,
and then you transfer after that, and you got Chris Kattan and Will Ferrell, and
There was no. I think someone said Lorne Michaels said everyone's favorite SNL cast was the cast from when they were in high school.
yeah. See, that's the thing.
I'd argue that because I don't even like the SNL cast when I was in high school.
Who was yours?
It was like Andy Samberg and
So
shit.
you and I were. What year did you graduate high school?
2012.
I was 2011, so it was probably the same cast.
Yeah,
So it was like
that's how that
Andy
works.
Samberg, Bill Hader, Will Forte, Kristen Wiig, Fred
Still
Emerson.
all killers, and they're
I do like Bill Hader, and Andy Samberg's a hit or miss for me.
I'm kind of the opposite. I like Andy Samberg. Bill Hader's kind of the hit or miss for me. Actually, even more of a hit or miss, Fred Armisen.
yeah. I don't actually find him very funny.
Me
at all.
neither.
I get what he's doing.
I do too. It's very
It's just
like
not-
Portlandia fits.
Yeah, it's just not my thing. Like,
He's very like hipstery and like I'm not a hipster. I'm a douche
Yeah. That's why Portlandia works for him.
because he's like people say he's like making fun of hipster culture in Portlandia.
Yeah.
well, I mean, the same way that like the alt scene in LA developed, where you had like the Largo people and the Comedy Store people.
Yeah.
And the store people were like the mainstream ones, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and then you had like people like Pat and Oswald that were like, "I'm just doing comedy,"
Yep.
and they're like, "Oh, you're an alt comic." He's like, "No, I'm a comic."
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah Silverman,
And
you're
like,
an alt comic. I'm a
No,
comic.
yeah.
Like Tig Notaro.
She's definitely was much more in that like alt scene kind of.
Yeah.
But eventually kind of transcended into just being a comic.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people like David Cross and
God, he's so good.
like a lot of those guys that were just basically they only played like alt rooms.
Is he still doing stand-up?
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything from David Cross in years.
Yeah, he's still. I know he writes with what's his name from Better Call Saul.
I remember listening to his album after 9/11 happened. And
Shut up, you fucking baby.
yeah, where he's talking about as soon as it happened, everyone's selling flags to shove up your asshole, flags to put in your cars. Like it was so good.
Yeah.
That entire album floored me, man.
I'll tell you what. If you want to see the absolute best, the thing that David Cross has ever been a part of, Run, Ronnie, Run.
Run, Ronnie, run. Is that the name of an album or something,
It's a
or a
movie.
bit?
It's
Oh,
a
a
movie.
movie. Okay.
Sorry. And no, it's one of those movies no one really knows, and then I'll show it to him. My friend Leif has it right now. He has my DVD copy of it. But you'll laugh from the beginning to the end. That movie is so goddamn ridiculous. Like, there's a scene where, like, so it's this guy who gets famous for basically, like, getting arrested and being ridiculous all the time.
Yeah.
And there's like a scene where he's like climbed up on a water tower and the cops are like, get down from there. And he's like, you get down from there. And just drunk on top of a water tower. It's ridiculous nonsense humor,
Yeah.
but done so smart that it's fascinating. It's super fun to watch.
Okay.
I kind of want to make you guys watch that now.
Who's your top 5 comics?
God damn,
Well-
that is a hard question.
I think I have my top 5 kind of nailed down.
Stanhope's number 1.
I never would have figured that from you, to be honest.
I think Stanhope is.
Not that I don't credit Stanhope to be like one of the greats, but I never would have guessed that from you, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Stanhope is the best comic to ever live. Period. I think No Refunds is better than any special I've ever seen.
Really?
Anything Pryor did, anything Carlin did. I think No Refunds is almost perfect.
Was that HBO, Showtime?
I think it was on Showtime. I don't know. I bought the DVD the day I saw it. I went to the video store and had them order it for me.
No shit.
I literally walked from my apartment all the way up to fucking like Family Video and had them order me a copy of that.
No fucking shit.
I'm sure
dude.
I've seen it. I don't know it from special name. Cody's made me watch damn near everything he's ever put out.
Actually, that's how I know Cody.
All
Some
the
stand-up
Stanhope shows.
All right, so keep going.
All right. See, the next one's it's Stanhope, and then it's other people. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, so he's so far of a number one that it makes it kind of hard to rank people below him.
Yeah.
But like, Attell's got to be in that conversation.
He's my number one.
Geraldo's got to be in that fucking conversation.
He's my number two.
Segura's got to be in that conversation now. His body of work now is just at that point where
It's insane.
I think
His
you
body of
have
work
to-
is
really
insane.
amazing.
I think you have to give him the nod.
He's
like,
Segura is a club comic who just happens to work theaters.
Yeah. Yeah.
but I mean, first and foremost, that's just a comic. He's just
He's a
built-
The thing is everything about him, I feel like, is authentic. Like, there's bit, and then there's like, it feels like you turn it on and off sometimes. Some comics do, especially in like podcast situations, but like it's him. It's just always him.
Segura doesn't feel like he's trying to appeal to anybody. He's just up there being himself.
Yeah.
right. But then, so I also have people. It's so hard to rank because it would almost be. I almost need you to give me like a category to rank them in, because there's guys like Norm Macdonald that's fucking comedy daddy. Like, that's there's not.
God tiers, dude. God tiers. He's up there.
And then there's comics that I just fucking love to death, like Mark Norman, Sean Patton, Rory fucking Scovel.
Can I tell you a story about Sean
Mark
Patton? And I
Norman's
probably
so
told
good.
you this story.
I've hung out with
Do you
him.
know about Sean Patton?
No.
He's a comic. He's done this Comedy Cellar. He's done he has a Comedy
Here,
Central half
I
hour.
can pull up pictures of me and him hanging out.
Sean Patton had the best live set I've ever seen.
Dude, he destroys rooms.
He featured for Kyle Kinane at Go Bananas. Do you remember this
Kinane's
weekend?
So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I saw him there.
But the Sunday show, I vividly remember this. Sean Patton told one joke, and I forget what the joke was, but he told a story about there was like someone shit on someone's car or something like that. That's the story I remember. But the crowd laughed so hard that the laughs were piercing.
Yeah.
And Billy DeVore said the walls were shaking.
Yeah, I remember I was at the Friday and Saturday shows for that. Because, you know me, I'll go to...
Yeah.
I'll go see what changes in the set or how they
Yeah.
alter. Because every place you play, the crowd's a little different. So I always like seeing what they tweak and change. Like, off topic, but when Jessa Reed played the first night, she did great.
Yeah.
But the second night, she had changed just the way she said a few things and the way she emphasized a handful of things. And that room was... Like, everyone left there like, what the fuck? Like, she... And so... I forgot the point I was originally making. No. Sean Patton's got to be up there. Rory Scovel, I've never seen somebody be naturally funnier.
Yeah.
Scoville's one of the most naturally funny people who happens to be a comic there is.
Yeah, I think he just did a special. I was reading something. Yeah, he didn't have material.
What?
Yeah, he just kind of did it, and then I remember him having a late night set that I think is one of the best things I've ever seen. He's like walking on the people, like on the arms of the people's chairs in the audience as he's doing it.
What an entrance.
And I remember watching it and just being like, oh, this might be the best late night set I've ever seen. I think Chad Daniels actually has mentioned that before too. I think he's at Brouhaha or something.
There were
he was
a
talking about that.
couple Doran Scoville Conan sets that were just so goddamn funny. Like there's one where where Conan said like, look, we double booked. So they have graciously agreed to share the stage. So give it up for John Doran, Rory Scovel. And they literally just did their own stand-up acts at the same time.
Yeah.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
If you've never seen that clip, remind me afterwards. I'll find it. It's
Okay.
It's so ridiculous.
They just like act as if the other person's not there. They just go with the same joke line, the cadence, wait, pauses, and everything.
Yep.
That's amazing.
And it was so good.
I bet you that was a fast like solution to like you just want to go out there and do like we're not even next to each other yet. Right?
And but here's the thing: knowing those two, they loved it. As soon as
was
like
100%
one of them pitched it to the other one backstage, and they both. I know both of them like just eyes fucking lit up, and they're like, "Fuck yes, that's what we're doing."
And they literally ended their sets at the same time.
Yeah, it's lightning in a bottle. It's one of those things that you probably could have had. You could have mixed any other two comics together and tried the same thing, and it would not. It just the way they did it worked perfect.
Yeah.
And John Doerr is also one of the funniest people in the world.
Yeah, like he's renowned for the shows he put on, like some of the Canadian comedy festivals and stuff that everybody goes to.
He's super funny.
Yeah.
He would have lineups where people were doing 10 minutes back to back to back, and he would build it from like someone with like a slow cadence to someone with like a medium energy to someone with a high energy to someone who's a lower cadence, but like where you really end up paying attention. Like the way he would just build out shows.
Yeah.
You'd have like 20 comics on this fucking thing all doing 10 minutes. And he would build it out to where like by the end the audience is still as into it as they were at the beginning. I mean, to me that's one of those things that takes a certain type of brilliance to be able to do that.
Yeah.
He's just so naturally funny and ridiculous, and he has mastered being himself.
Yeah, I like when you hear about them talking about like a comic finding their voice, that guy's he figured his out and has sharpened it to like a fucking katana.
Good.
Same with like Roy Scovel, Sean Patton. Some of these guys, they're just so authentically who and what they are that if you see it in person, it's so much different than seeing it on like a taped set or a special. Like I said,
Because you only get like if you see someone do like, well, you can't do Conan anymore. Say someone does like Fallon or Colbert or Corden, like you're only getting a small snippet of what they do. Like I'll give you an example. There's a comic, Lloyd knows him. His name is Tom Takar.
I love when I still remember when he was Tom Brady.
Yes. And he did a 5-minute set on Conan, but like I made sure to comment on his YouTube video. I'm like, if you ever get the chance to watch this dude do a longer set, go.
Yeah.
He's so funny.
I remember the first time I saw him was at Brouhaha, and I think he closed out maybe the tunnel stage or something like the first night. And, you know, they have the main stage there that's, I think the tunnel stage, like there were so many people going to like grab people.
Like you need to come check this out.
Like by the time his set was done, that whole area was so flooded you could barely move. And I can't remember who it was like somebody from Last Comic Standing or something was on the main stage.
Yeah.
And just half of the crowd had just like kind of left and went over to the tunnel stage. And it was just, I think it was like, I think there was like 4 people that all got like a longer set at the end there, and he might have been last. Or no, Kevin Bozeman was last.
When him and Chad Daniels ripped together.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, so I always say my top 5. Attell's my number 1. Geraldo's my number 2. Chad might be my number 3.
I
Chad
feel
Daniels
bad that
pretty
I
good.
didn't put him in there.
Chad is like, you ever heard of Chad Daniels?
Yes.
So he's the kind of comic who just like, he doesn't come across as any different than any other comedian,
Yeah.
but his material is incredible. He's such a gifted comic.
Yeah, he's he'll use the exact wording he needs to use.
Yep. And it's everything about his set is perfect, and Chad has had some of the hardest kills I've ever seen.
Yeah, some of the shows at Go Bananas he's done, some of the shows at Brouhaha he's done. Again, like I said, there's a handful of times at Go Bananas where I've just been like, oh, this is different.
And what was I going to say?
And he's definitely one of those. I saw him, Tate, Cy, and actually I think Alex. Yeah.
Chip Tate's great.
I think Alex Stone was emceeing or something that night.
Oh,
I believe.
It's got to be the tunnel.
No. This was at Go Bananas.
Oh.
And it was like, I think it was Tate. I might be mixing 2 shows back to back together, but whatever. This is all same, like little bubble.
Yeah.
But I remember like watching Tate kill the way Tate kills.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched Cy kill the way Cy kills. And then I saw Chad killed the way he was, and you're just like, fuck, dude, this room is like, you understand why comics use such aggressive language, like, I'm gonna go out there and fucking crush, I'm gonna go out and kill him, blah, blah, like that kind of shit, because that's really what it seems like. It seems like he's just like, hey, you're all gonna join whatever my brain's doing right now,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna push it in your head, and you're gonna deal with it. Like, Chad kind of has that kind of confidence to him, where even if you don't necessarily agree with what he's saying, you wouldn't argue with him. And even write some of his jokes where like he'll over explain that part. Like,
Yeah.
it works so fucking well.
He's a monster. There are 2 comedians that I have forced my parents to come to Go Bananas and watch. Chad Daniels and Stuart Huff.
Dude, oh god, I can't believe I didn't say Stuart Huff either. Dude, Stuart Huff.
Top 5's not big enough, man.
No, Stuart Huff played downstairs at the Hamilton. And there were people standing outside on the fucking patio just trying to hear it. And, I mean, half of the audience is not like comedy people. They're just people that go to like a wine and cheese bar like the Hamilton is. And watching them like give up the fight that they had against laughing when he was, it was beautiful to see. A guy who just loves doing comedy so much that he's like, oh, you can look at me like down your nose all you want. You're gonna laugh.
Yeah.
You will. Like, again, like,
I'm pulling you into this.
So to round it out, it's Attell, Geraldo, Chad, Brian Regan, number 4.
Ooh.
You're not a fan?
No. Like,
Lloyd
ooh.
Lloyd made a face.
I'm clean comics fucking freak me out, man.
To me, he doesn't strike me as a clean comic. He strikes me as a comic who just happens to be clean, and I think there's a difference.
All right, well, see, that's how I would say Wyckoff is.
That's what I would say what Nick Bargatze is.
Yeah,
Nate Bargatze is the first comic I ever opened for.
But-
What? That's cool, man.
but Brian Regan, to me, I feel like this is going to sound so insulting to somebody. I do respect him. I have a lot of respect for him. But I feel like his act built the way it did because Christopher Titus's act built the way it did.
Okay.
Like, Titus went into that, like, bad boy, nasty language, blah, blah, blah. And I think they were so close in how things were that I think they affected each other.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yes. And I would say Burr, number 5.
Ah, fuck, Bill Burr, god damn it. Yeah, I can't do a 5.
There's some comics like the one comic who I always forget is like I don't consider him one of my favorite comics, but he like really should be is Rock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You forget how good Chris Rock was because you've seen him in a million things.
He's like there's something about
fucking Patrice. None of us said Patrice.
No, none
We
of
should all
us.
fucking punch ourselves in the face right now.
I haven't done mine, and he was going to be in mine.
Okay.
Go. What's
Sorry,
yours?
yeah, sorry.
Mine was going to be Patton Oswalt, Patrice, Burr, Lewis Black, and then I never decided on my 5th.
Dude, that's a very solid top 4.
Yeah. A
friend of ours actually opened for Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, Blake. Blake
Blake Heyman. Yeah. When I first had Blake on the podcast on the Bastard Sermon, and he told me because obviously him and I have a love for Patton, and he told me he had opened for him. I was like, we're talking about this. Like, I need to know everything. I remember sitting in my brother's car listening to his comedy album, talking about like Black Angus is now like challenging people to eat steaks and shit like that, and like PG rated sexual like innuendos is way more perverted than just say fuck my pussy.
Yeah.
Like everything about that stays with me and will stay with me. I love Patton.
He's also one of those dudes that just everything he touches works.
He used to do this. He does it. He doesn't do it as much now, but he used to do these things back in his earlier days of comedy and his albums where like in between bits he would say like a line of nonsense and then just transition into the next bit and just completely ignore it. Like, you're laughing at how weird that was while he's starting the next bit you're about to laugh at.
And then, but I mean, even like him acting.
Yeah.
You don't expect it to be good. And I mean, like, he makes fun of himself. He's like, character actor.
Who gives a fuck if we're fat?
Yeah. Was it Brian Dennehy?
Yeah.
Yep. Goddamn, that's a great album too.
He's a good character actor, but I'm blanking on the name of it, but he starred in a movie where he was like a troop leader for like Boy Scouts, and he was like, he was truly trying to like reach these boys, but like, fuck this fat weirdo. But it was like a really touching moment by the end of it.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was a good film. I liked it a lot.
But yeah, I mean,
Troop Mom.
Also, read his book. It's Wasteland Zombies and Robots, I think it is.
Like that,
it's dude, it's so good.
It's real good. That's what I'm saying. As I was going to mention, like, his acting, writing books, helping write shows. You know what I mean? You see him on something like United States of Terror, and he was just that good at knowing how to play his guy just funny enough to make a scene better and not take it away.
Yeah.
And to me, that's tough. I think every comic wants to take that limelight every chance they get.
Yeah.
And the guys who can do that, like play a supporting role well, I think there's a very specific skill to that.
Dude, it wrecked me. Like, I felt terrible when I found out his wife passed. Because
dude,
you hear all his older bits about being a lonely dude, a sad fuck, and then he gets that wife and kid, and he has specials where it's like about his wife and kid, and then she's gone. I felt so.
Have you watched?
I felt so bad.
Have you seen that documentary about
the Golden State Killer? No, I haven't.
The Golden what?
Golden State Killer. His wife did like a crime blog stuff.
Oh,
and basically helped catch the Golden State Killer.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen until after she passed. But she had that book, and there's a documentary about it. And if you see, like, it'll almost make you hate Patton Oswalt.
Really?
Hear me out. Why? He's so fucking sweet to her.
Oh yeah.
Where like you almost want him to be an asshole a little bit.
Yeah.
But they show like strings of text messages back and forth between them. And he's like, "No, babe, stay a couple extra days and get some rest, do your whatever. Stay in that. Like, I'll keep that hotel room for an extra couple of days for you. Just get your rest before you get whatever. Like, let's make sure everything's happy. Let's make sure you're okay before anything goes on." It's like, fuck you. Like, why are you that sweet?
I read a story about how like Patton Oswalt was in like a Burger King or something like that. I could be very wrong here, but like he made sure to let his daughter do the ordering at the Burger King, and just like, that's the nicest dude there is.
Yeah.
There was a GoFundMe for a club in Michigan. It might have been like I forget what club it was, but like they were about to like go under because of the pandemic. And then I was like going through the names of like who donated and shit, and I saw $1,000 Patton Oswalt.
What the fuck?
Yeah, dude.
He's I think he's as sweet as he seems, and that almost makes you mad at him.
Yeah.
But bar none, my favorite.
I don't think
comedian.
like he gets the respect that he deserves.
Not only as
a comic, but as a person.
His circuit of comedians that he toured with were murderers. I mean, it was obviously a very specific niche.
Like, who did he tour with?
But like Brian, what's his fucking face? Big glasses, thick beard, bald. He's
Brian Posehn.
Brian Posehn.
Yeah.
He toured with Galifianakis. He toured with
Bamford.
Yeah. He had
so good.
He had a solid lineup of friends he was touring with, man. It was yeah, you're right. He doesn't get the recognition.
Well, not
like people know that like Patton Oswalt's great, but like they don't like bring him up.
Yeah. They're like, "Oh, the King and Queens guy."
As a goat. But that's because Kevin James is such a fucking asshole.
Kevin James is a piece of shit.
Let
me say that into the mic so the listeners hear me. I don't like.
I've heard
Kevin
so
James.
many shitty stories about Kevin James.
Yeah, I know guys that train at the kickboxing gym that he's at all the time, Mark Delagrati's.
Yeah,
and they all say just the best shit in the world about him.
About Kevin James?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, they're like, as long as you're not being like, "Hey, you're famous." that shit, he apparently is like, fuck you, piss off. I'm not. You can't come at him like super high energy, like, I want to touch you. Can you sign that? If you just have a conversation with him, like he showed up to people's weddings and shit, like that train with him.
Really?
So
All right. Well, I like him as a person, but I don't like his jokes.
No, I don't. I never. I like him. He's a good comedic actor. I don't care for his comedy.
Yeah, it's all food related.
But
He's the kind of guy who
he's like bad Gaffigan.
He also like strikes me as someone who like likes performing comedy, but also like hates the idea of being famous.
Yeah, I think that probably. Hell, just judging from what I just said a minute ago about what I've heard from people that train with him, I think that's what paints him as such an asshole. Is when people are like, "Hey, what's your opinion on this?" And he's like, "I'm a guy who pretends to be a fucking big dummy in movies. My opinion on this issue doesn't fucking matter. Why are you coming at me with this?"
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason he catches as much shit as he does. But also, he's right.
Yeah, he's completely right.
Yeah.
You don't need to know his. He doesn't need to give his opinion on.
It's like it's Chappelle's bit on a fucking Ja Rule. Why the fuck are we wondering like what Ja Rule thinks about this topic? We need to be talking to the
I
real
remember
people.
that bit.
But I think Kevin Smith, or
Kevin James
does that about himself. But
Chappelle's fifth.
Yeah, there you go. See,
There it is.
Neither of us said Chappelle either. That's
Chappelle.
five's just not enough. You have to break it down as to why. Because I would go like if you just went pure joke writing, I have 5 more people I have to add to that.
Yeah. I always say, like, if I had to create a list of my 10 favorite jokes I've ever heard, read, anywhere, Dave Attell would probably have like 2 or 3 of them.
Same for me, and Stan Hope would probably have 5 of them.
No shit.
Yeah, but like I said, you'd almost have to categorize the ranking. So if you want like joke
writing,
because
storytelling,
like a guy like Kurt Metzger, he's not coming up in like overall one of my favorite or one of the best comics, whatever. Metzger's not going to be on that list. You talk about just pure joke writing.
his joke about toddlers and tiaras was so fucking funny.
Dude, the one
Kurt
he
Metzger?
had,
Yeah.
the one he had about the Terry the Smoker.
I forget that one.
Dude, he comes so far around on that joke for just a perfect. It's so well written. Like it takes a whole thing and it's a premise. He has jokes in it. He has throwaway jokes in it, and then the end turns all the way back around in on itself to be something completely different from where you're expecting him to go. But it's so pinpoint fucking funny. They're like, that's one of the best written. White Precious is one of the best specials of the past.
It's so funny.
Fucking 10 years, 15 years, whatever. It's just as an hour of comedy is better than most comics hours.
Can I create a top 3 and I want to know your thoughts on this?
Go for it.
Top 3 female comics. We were just talking about Jessica Kirson before this.
I was about to say maybe Jessica Kirson, Morgan Murphy,
She's so good.
Yeah, she was going to be
Maria
on my
Bamford.
3.
Bamford's up there for me too.
Bamford, and Sarah Silverman is one of my favorite human beings
Damn it,
alive.
that's another one.
But
I think I've always said one of the funniest, most genuinely funny female comics is Chelsea Peretti.
yeah, dude, again, her special where she has dogs in the fucking audience when it cuts out and shit. That's
You ever seen Miss Pat live?
yeah.
Miss Pat's amazing.
Miss Pat kept she kept teasing everybody. She's like, I'm gonna take this giant white ass boy home and show him something new. Like,
She was saying that about you?
yeah. Kept putting her hand on me, like when other people would come up and start talking to her. She's like, I'm gonna have my boy beat you up here in a second. Like, she was super fun, but it was like, do you think I'm someone else that you already know? Like, I got a feeling like she was just like, I think she thought I was someone that she had met before.
Yeah.
Or she just does shit like that and it came across that way to me. But she was like immediately so friendly and like looping me into her like reactions to everyone else that was coming up. That I was like, I almost want to be like, we don't actually know each other yet. Like, I just met you today. I really did feel like, and it might be, she might have just been like, oh, this is that guy that was at this show last time or what. But she looped me in like I was already a part of all of the stuff she was doing with like just a crowd outside of the show. That I was like, it was very strange to just all of a sudden be like, no, I got to take him back to the hotel room and teach him some shit. Or like, I'm gonna have this giant boy, I'm gonna have my giant white boy beat the shit out of you here in a minute. And I'm like, looking around like, I don't know her like that, guys.
There's also like Nikki Glazer you could put on there. Yeah. Can I say a really so underrated female comic?
Yes.
Beth Stelling.
For sure.
Can't say I've heard.
Dude.
She's a fucking murderer.
Beth Sterling.
Beth Stelling. Murder. Taylor Tomlinson's on that list for me.
Jessa Reed.
Dude, yes.
Dude, like I said, watching.
She also rules as a person.
Yeah,
she had a great This Is Not Happening.
Dude, I was going to say, if you want to get an idea who Jessa Reed is, go on YouTube, look up her This Is Not Happening.
It was back when Ari Shaffir hosted.
Yeah, it was a show Ari Shaffir made where comics just come on and tell a real-life story. And hers, I think, has...
MFP.
Yeah. Hers was one of the biggest ones out of all of them that ever came out as far as, like, views.
She's so good.
And it's such a fucking katana sword sharpened... That story she has down to every note, everywhere she can fit like a punch in there, it fits without it being like, when people crowd a story with too much.
Yeah.
She does it just perfect where she'll hit you with a punchline and then start the premise in right, like as part of the punchline.
Yeah.
The premise for the next thing will be directly tied to it's masterfully done. That bit is so well crafted.
I'm just like, because me personally, like, I've always been like a joke teller as a comic. I've never been a very good like long form storyteller.
Yeah.
And it's like, I envy the comics that can tell stories because they can fill time. They have a half hour like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like me, it's just like it takes a year to craft a killer 7 minutes.
They were just talking about that on a Two Bears episode with Tom
Mark
Segura
Norman.
and Anthony Jeselnik.
Oh, okay.
I love Jeselnik.
Oh, he's so
too.
good. But they were talking about how they had a conversation personally where Anthony was telling him, like, you can tell stories, you can get an hour quick, whereas I have to work like a year and a half to fill up an hour with my jokes. Like my jokes, I say it's done in a couple of seconds.
Him and Mark Norman had a very similar conversation.
Yeah.
Segura and Mark Norman. And Mark Norman's like, for one of your stories, I've got to write 60 jokes.
Yeah.
He's like, and you got to learn how to fire them out and make it not overwhelm and blah, blah. And Tom's like, well, when you tell a story, you got to do it. Hearing those two discuss how different their styles are and how much they put into doing it, it's very interesting.
Because he talks about in that interview too, where like, who was it? What he was touring with, where he was like, no, you need to start doing stories. Was it Burr? Like Burr was telling him he needed to start doing
I can't
stories.
remember who it was, but yeah.
Yeah, they were telling him he needs to do stories, and he tried to do a story, but he felt so uncomfortable, out of place, and he said he just lost that time.
The thing with stories is like, I'm a joke teller comic, and I get uncomfortable with lulls where there's 30 seconds or 45 seconds without a single laugh, and I'm like, are they listening? Because like I can't see shit. So like, I'm not sure if they're bored or like I get uncomfortable when crowds don't laugh for more than 20 seconds. So the fact that comics can like go up there and like not have a crowd laugh for like a minute, but then still also on this at the same time have them on their side, that's insane to me.
Yeah.
I always appreciate a comic that knows how to use dead space and pauses. Like
Yeah.
Cronin, I remember the first time I saw him, he seemed so much more nervous than just like a year later. Like you can tell at sometime in that time he figured out how to be so comfortable with that because it's kind of a part of what he was doing.
He's also got his pauses down to science.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is using like his pauses and stuff. Seeing, I can remember, like I said, I saw him, probably wasn't even a year apart, but almost a lot of the same jokes were in the set. But in that second one, that was a little bit later, I was like, oh, okay, he figured out how to be comfortable in that. And it just made it, I already thought he was hilarious. It just made it so much better to see him be able to use that pause.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I don't think people realize how, as Mike Cronin, a friend of ours, but like, I don't think people realize how genuinely funny and genuinely likable Mike Cronin is. He's like such a, I mean, he's like a, could you classify him as a dirtbag comic? He's a,
close.
It's close.
A lot of pants shitting and...
Yeah. But he's like, if you put that aside, you just realize he's like the nicest dude.
Yeah, he's just
super likable.
He's like a fucking little honey bear.
Mike Cronin is an eternal goofball.
I think him and Rand Barnacle are like vector opposite.
Rand Barnacle floors me.
Everyone knows I love Rand. He was my roommate. I've known him since I was a
You
fucking
drew some
kid.
paintings in this apartment.
Yeah, Rand did those
or
paintings.
painted
up
some
there.
shit.
But like all the parts where Mike Cronin goes like soft and likable, Rand does that like arrogant. And it comes out the same.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Actually, it makes 100% sense.
Like they start off, and you feel a certain way, and then they do whatever they're doing, and it kind of changes. At the end, you're both like. At the end of their set, you're like, "Oh, I like this dude," because I get what he's doing with how he's making this joke work, how he's relating. But they do it, and as far as I can tell, they're as opposite as you can be, while being similar types of comic.
I don't know if I've, like, every time I've hung out with Ran, it's been for the show. So I don't know if I've ever met Ran authentically when it's not turned on.
It's always
okay.
on.
See, that's because that's what I was kind of getting towards. Was the reason I laugh with Ran, like off mic and when he's like on stage laughing, is he's kind of one of those people. There's rare kind of people you run into where, like, say you're going out to a shop or maybe you're starting a new job and you don't know fucking anybody. But this dude will come up and talk to you like he's known you forever and will start talking about a topic as if you're, like, completely honest. Like, yeah, this is fucking insane, right? You know, and he just keeps going.
And it's also part of how he writes material.
Rand's never off.
No, that's what I'm saying. I've known him since we were, 13, 14.
Yeah.
And he's just, really?
Yeah.
And he's just always been that way.
Yeah, I remember him walking into a party at some girl's basement and fucking Mount Healthy. And him and like one or two other people walk in the back door of the fucking basement, and it just became the Rand show for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like he just came in and he was, he was like 15, 16 maybe. But he just turned everything into the Rand show, and everyone was like, all right, that was fun.
Yeah.
And then like, him and his buddies are like outside or whatever, probably smoking a cigarette. And you go out there, and he's, like, holding court. There's just, like, a whole bunch of people around him listening to him be Rand.
Man, that's him practicing his open mic existing.
Right, this is before he
Ever did stand up.
Yeah. That's just how
It's who he is.
Rand communicates.
Yep.
Jesus fucking Christ.
You know who reminds me of that a little, but in a very different way, is Lily.
Lily's much drier.
Right, but I'm saying it becomes the Lily show.
Oh, 100%.
Like, Lily can walk into any room, and you're not going to be the person that tops her.
No.
And she says shit like that about me, but I'm not as good at it as she is. For sure, I'm not. She walks in, and it is the fucking Lily show, and everyone's okay with it. Like, she does it well where it doesn't come across as like needy or cunty or.
No.
And Rand does that same thing. Cronin does that same thing.
Oh yeah.
So there's some people that just they're always a show, just who they are.
Also, is Rumble Lips still a thing? Is he still doing that?
I haven't.
It's been a while since I've seen him plugged out on Instagram or anything.
I was listening to the ones that he was doing by himself for a long time.
Where he was still walking around a park.
Yeah.
Well, even if it's not on anymore, I listeners, check out fucking Rumble Lips.
I'm sure he's doing something.
He was doing it like by himself, like Bill Burr style
He's
on
had
the
like
phone,
8
and then he went to
podcasts.
like he transitioned to doing it live in front of people.
I'd say a big chunk of the Rumble Lips when it was him and Kyle Jeffers were recorded right here at this table.
Nice.
Hell yeah, man!
Because him and Kyle basically both lived here. Rand actually lived in that room. Kyle basically took over the living room for, I think Kyle was here probably like 8 months ish. And Rand lived here for a couple years. And dude, there's nothing better than coming out here and listening to those two play like UFC when neither of them knew how it worked or could do anything. This shit talking was so... Again, they were so opposite in the way they did it that it was beautiful.
I would love to hear some Rand talk shit playing some UFC on Xbox.
I feel like Rand's a really good shit talker.
Yeah.
Now, like, we've been talking a lot of positivity on, like, the comedy.
Yeah.
Have you guys had seen a show or a set from a comedian you were really looking forward to, and it's just like, wow, this is not what I wanted or expected?
Do you have one?
I can tell you one that, for as good on podcasts and stuff,
Go on. I'm
As
gonna
he
get
is-
some water.
when Brian Callen headlined Brouhaha.
Yeah.
he was gross to Kelly Collette.
Well, yeah. Besides, yeah, I'm saying like for as naturally funny as he seems, his set was so underwhelming, and it was basically half of it was just the same joke told different ways, and it just came across as like lazy and not terribly likable. Alex, those are dirty. Just use that black mug that's up there. But yeah, like it was. Again, this is. You kind of could assume that guy was a shitbag, so it's not like I'm like, hey, this is somebody I want to like. Like I talked to him a lot that night when we went up to the bar, but because he was following what's her name, Karina Brockman. Yeah, Karina Brockman. He was following her around,
Being gross.
I mean, he wasn't being gross to her, but you could tell that's
The intention.
it was for sure heading that way. Like, and at one point, me and her were talking, and he just came up, so I kind of got wrapped in there, whatever. And again, he was funnier just in those conversations than his entire goddamn set.
There were a couple Brouhaha headliners, and I'm like, man, how does this guy captivate an audience? Like, no offense to Anchorman. David Koechner, I think, headlined a Brouhaha one night.
He's not good live.
Who is that guy again? David Koechner?
He was a guy in Anchorman who I think wore the cowboy hat.
Oh, the bald.
Yeah.
I saw him at the Liberty Center Funny Bone last year. Garbage. You know what? He stood up there sick, and he also stood up there and was like, "Hey, you guys seen me and stuff, right? Who should I impersonate next?" That was basically 30 minutes of his bit was him like, "Tell me where you've seen me from before, and I'll just say lines you've heard from before." Yeah,
that's half of Ari Spears sets too.
That's fucking terrible. And that's disappointing because I liked Ari Spears on Mad TV.
I like Darius Spears, and I remember seeing him on like Sports Nation one time on
spent about
ESPN.
5 minutes standing around with him. Someone I know was his feature.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have gone out of my way to go see Ari Spears. No
one should.
Not to be whatever. Just I wouldn't have been there other than a friend of mine was featuring for him. And standing around with him like in the hallway at Liberty when it first opened, it took me about 5 minutes before I looked at my buddy and I was like, I'm gonna hit him. Like it was.
He's obnoxious.
Yeah, he's just unlikable. Like he's just very. everything he said was about him,
Yeah.
about how unfair everything was and how he was treated.
Didn't he like bitch at the Liberty mic? Or he didn't bitch. He was just like, "Screw this. Do you want to see a movie?" He said that to his feature or something like that.
While he was on stage?
I think so.
What a fucking dick.
Like, I mean, but that doesn't surprise me. Like, after, like I said, I spent 5 minutes around him,
Yeah.
and I was looking at my buddy like, I can't.
He has no career. Why would he act like he's better than the Liberty Center Funny Bone?
Well,
Because he has a following and he sells tickets.
And in his head, he's been blacklisted and blackballed from Hollywood.
No, he's just black. I'm sorry.
Solid.
I saw...
But, like, he really does have this like whole thing about how, like, because he was on Mad TV and Mad TV was competition for SNL, that no one will hire him for anything, and
That
blah blah.
sucks.
Like, that's his whole mindset. It's like, no, you're not that
and he
fucking
hasn't
funny.
seen like everyone else from that.
Yeah, I was
show,
gonna say Horatio
like,
Sands, Bobby Lee. Everyone
Key
else
and
has
Peele.
careers. Yeah.
You know, actually, like, kind of surprised me. It's like, this guy probably sucks. I mean, like, he wasn't great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna explain this one. Jeremy Piven.
Can't say I've heard of him.
He was on. I want to say Entourage.
Yeah, he was on Entourage.
Oh.
But he did.
Yeah, I
like,
know this guy's face. Yep.
He headlined The Bone. And he didn't crush, but someone brought up the fact that like he legit does stand up now. I mean, like, granted, he tells stories from Entourage
Right.
but he's only been doing stand up a year and a half, and he already has 45 minutes.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
that's. I'll give that to him.
so I have a friend who worked with him too, and apparently he's exactly the kind of douche you think he is, in the best way.
Okay, because I was just gonna say, like, sure, he's been doing it for a year. He's got 45 minutes, but is that 45 minutes worth listening to? You know what I mean? 'Cause,
It's
like,
not something I
Brendan
would.
Schaub has been doing comedy for what, a year, 2 years, and his special
I
was
made
like
it through 6 minutes.
it was, oh my, I had made it through less, but believe me, I checked out clips. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Dude, it's
I mean, it's not something I drive
It's
30
unwatchable.
minutes and pay $30 for, but I
Okay.
got through it.
Yeah.
It's not like it was painfully unfunny. Like, he was actually like trying to like work out material and be a comic and go on stage. And I think he's done the store too a couple times, but like, he's actually trying to be a comic.
I seen my sister had got tickets to Kevin Hart, U.S. Bank Arena 2 years ago, or maybe it was 3.
I'll tell my Kevin Hart story in a second, but go on.
Thank you. I wasn't a fan of Kevin Hart by this point because like I'd seen his first special from like early 2000s.
I'm a grown little man.
Little man. I was like, okay, I like this. But then I started noticing a trend with all of his specials that were coming out on Netflix where he's got like a formula to his special. It's
Yep.
like he tells a family joke.
say it with your chest.
He says a family joke, he says a friend joke, and they all have one-liners that hit. And then he'll do some more filler, and at the very end, he does a big, long joke that brings in all the one-liners at once, and then he makes his exit. And that's the formula for him. So I wasn't expecting much, but I was like, it's Kevin Hart. It's at a big arena. Maybe it'll be a good show. And I go there. It's U.S. Bank. Everyone there who is for Kevin Hart has never been to a comedy show before. Everyone who's been there.
Fuck that.
Everyone who has been there, who was there at U.S. Bank for Kevin Hart, was like walking around the entire time the openers were open, getting food.
No.
The people, whoever was running mics and sound, were like never bumped up their sound at all. It was so disingenuous to me. Like, I'm sitting there trying to listen to these openers because I was getting some like laughs from what I did hear. Like, I was enjoying what I did hear.
Who opened? Do you remember?
Don't remember because check this out. They never announced who was coming up on stage.
Are you
next.
fist fucking me?
I'm not.
No,
it was like these. They finished their set, waved, and then they got off, and then you just saw another dude show up. You didn't know the show started until the lights went out, and then that's when everyone shut the fuck up, and you could literally hear people running into the stadium to actually sit down. And then they listened. And then you could hear the sound quality bump up leagues. Like, why the fuck wasn't it like this the last half hour? Like, what's happening?
I've been to 2 arena shows. Exact same.
Fucking garbage. It was terrible.
I think that's just not a venue
No,
for
they just
comedy
want to sell
fans.
tickets. Like, I think Gaffigan's doing it, or he's either doing it or has done it. But I think Gaffigan's the kind of comic who would treat the opener with respect. It's like, hey, you're going to watch this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to announce him and, like, make it a proper comedy show.
Yeah, I don't think theaters are rough in a certain way.
They can be. They can also be good.
Well,
They're
right.
not like, oh, my God, it's so good. And
It never feels the same as a club.
no, not even close.
And it doesn't feel... It feels like the audience never connects.
Comedy shows are meant
Yeah.
for clubs.
Right. Well, I'm saying the whole audience can connect at a club. In an arena, or in a theater, you barely feel... In an
Yeah.
arena, you're like, oh, these are people who saw a movie.
Yeah.
Like, half of these people, their favorite movie is Soul Plane.
Yeah.
Pete Davidson,
I felt that immediately.
Pete
his
Davidson
joke,
once said,
oh my God.
Soul Plane, you know Pete Davidson's story?
No.
His dad, he's a comic, and his dad died on 9/11.
As a fireman.
And he said Soul Plane was the worst event in my life involving a plane.
Yeah, that was on the...
That is people shit on Pete Davidson.
Dude, that dude's
Me.
fucking funny.
He's super funny. And I don't think SNL is right for him.
I mean, if you watch the movies he's in, they're good.
Yeah. He's a legit comic.
Yeah, he's funny. He knows how to be funny.
I didn't like his special.
His most recent one,
Like
His
at
first
all.
one was
Okay.
really good. His second one was...
SMD was good. His most recent one was like he spent so much time on SNL. Like he hasn't had time to like really perfect an act. It was just him going up, addressing things that he felt the need to address.
Well, he also said afterwards that it was rushed because of, like, contract stuff of
yeah,
when he
I
had
don't
to
like
put it
the way
out.
Netflix does that shit.
Well, it wasn't just Netflix. It was, like, his agency and all kinds of other shit. Like, they wanted... if you're going to do this movie, we still need a comedy special from you before this point. Blah, blah. So he just didn't have time to work an hour together with being on SNL, being in movies, doing the... all
Some
the
of
shit
it
he's
Pick
doing.
a
was
lane
funny.
then, maybe. You know what I mean? Maybe pick a lane.
Or maybe do what you want to do because it's his fucking life to do it. Like, that's the part that gets me is like when you got someone like, hey, we need you to put a comedy special out in this amount of time. And he's like, hey, bro, I've always wanted to be in a movie. I've always wanted to do a movie, and I love this one that I'm working on. Let's push that back to have some time to tour and put out a good special. And they're like, no, just put something out.
I also
Yeah.
feel like comedians also like I don't think people realize how good comedians can be as actors in serious roles because a lot of them are like
Yeah.
broken people.
Not a lot of them. All of them. Whatever it is that makes someone go, I'm going to go to this open mic. And then they get one laugh. And then they're
Dude,
willing
you're right.
And then they're willing to eat plates of dicks for years.
Me. I'm still eating dicks. I'm not saying that to shut myself. Like I'm still eating dicks.
I've seen you have
Plates of it.
I've seen you have sets where I'm like, poor guy. Rough. Like, but I've also seen you have sets where everyone in the room's in. So, like any other comic, that's just part of doing that.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
I've seen every comic in Cincinnati eat their dick.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen almost every comic crush.
I watched Jeff Tate downstairs bomb.
Jeff Tate's amazing.
When he played downstairs at the Hamilton, the comics in the back were laughing. That's it.
You know, Jeff Tate made me feel more of a bigger deal than I'll ever be in my entire life.
Same here.
Like we do this little old show, right? I've been doing it for like 3 years, and we have on Jeff Tate. We get lucky enough to have him on the show, and he does it, and he does his second episode. He enjoys us. He comes back, does a third episode. We're like, all right, we're gonna drop this, right? We record the episode. We drop it a week later. We record the episode 2 days later. I get a YouTube notification. Your mom's house dropped an episode, Jeff Tate. I'm like, what the fuck? I have someone from your mom's house on my show. Like, It's not Tom or Christina, but it's a guest that they've had.
Yeah.
But it's still fucking amazing.
Jeff is
to me.
Segura's opener.
Yeah, and he'll like I've seen Segura post Instagram stories of him like getting meals with Jeff Tate. I'm like, meta, dude, meta.
I have pictures of me, Segura, and Jeff Tate on stage at Funny Bone because I know.
Fuck, man.
I'd heard Tate outside. He was talking to some of the other comics I know, and he was talking about he had like hats and shirts and shit he wanted to sell, and they were like, "Well, right now we're not doing it they weren't letting them do it where they normally did." So, he mentioned something about it when they were wrapping up the show, and I just walk up on stage and I had a Sharpie with me, and I had my laptop bag with me for some reason. Took a Sharpie out and I was like, let me buy a hat and sign it for me. And then everybody just started lining up and going behind us. And you can tell both of them kind of had like all right, that works. Kind of. And it was just like me and two other people that walked up and just were like,
We're doing this now.
Yeah, I have a room in my, a hat in my bedroom right now that says make Jeff Tate again.
Make Jeff Tate again?
Yeah.
It's so good.
And it's autograph. Like I know that I know him. I don't need his autograph, but just for that situation, there were a couple other people that were like, oh, I was like, well, let's go. Let's people I didn't know. I'm like, let's just go up there and ask them for it, blah, blah, blah. And then I just happened to have that Sharpie in my laptop bag, so I just handed it to them, and then they just started selling their merch and doing the autograph shit right there on the stage.
That's one thing I love about comedy crowds. Like when they're drunk and they love something, they will drop cash on merch. And it's so much fun to watch. It's like if you have a joke kill and you have a t-shirt to go with it, if you have that joke on your t-shirt kill, you just made $200.
Yeah. And all right, so if you guys want to hear the rest of this conversation, we're going to switch it over to the Patreon. We've done an hour and 11.
That's good enough for them on the freebie.
Yeah, that's good for the freebie. So we'll stop here and then pick it up on the Patreon. Alex, do you got anything to plug?
Listen to Fuck You Like the Bengals on all streaming platforms. I'm trying to book some shows right now, so fucking book my inconsistent ass. I'll be in Denver in mid to late September. I'm trying to plan a trip to Chicago in November, and in January I'm going to try plan a trip to Atlanta.
Right on.
He's around.
What's there's a club in Atlanta that I fucking...
Laughing Skull?
Laughing Skull was... That's what a comedy club should be.
It's perfect.
It's got a sweet name.
I'm not a comic, you know what I mean? But walking in, I went, this is... Having been to a bunch of stuff, like if you go from like Liberty Funny Bone and then you walk in a place like Laughing Skull, you're like, oh, this is a comedy
Laughing Skull
club.
seats 80 people.
How many?
80.
What?
It's perfect. It's like a mini theater.
Yeah.
It's just the setup, the way everything works and go, like it blew me away just from hearing all of the complaints that like all the people I know from like open mics and stand-up.
Yeah.
Like all the things where like, oh, I kind of hate when
Like some people don't like the owner.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Laughing Skull specifically. I'm talking about just complaints I've heard from everybody. When I went there, I was like, oh, they've addressed almost all of that. Like you can just look around that place and go, oh, they have built this for comics to do well.
Kind of like reeling it back to what he had said earlier, what you had said, Alex, about like comedy shows are almost meant for clubs.
Yeah.
It was shortly after, like maybe 2 months after I had seen that Kevin Hart show, I had got to go see Mark Norman again at the Liberty Funny Bone because he was just there back to back for so long, and I had seen him with my friend Joe. Joe and I are sitting at the front table, touching the center of the stage at the Liberty Funny Bone. I'm right at the feet of these comedians, you know. First opener comes out, sees a redhead right in front of him, makes a joke. Second guy comes out, sees the redhead, makes a joke. Mark Norman comes out, he says, well, the other two made jokes about you, I got to now.
Yeah.
And he goes to make jokes. That was like, that right there was like why I knew right then I liked clubs more than I liked the theater because it's more intimate. It's more like
Well, I don't even then. That's the Liberty Funny Bone.
Hey, I'll pick up and tell my story of sitting in that same table. with Big J Okerson and all my all the guys I work with. We'll do that one on the Patreon. Anything else you want to plug, Alex? I'm sorry, we kind of just ran over your plugs.
That's okay. I don't give a shit.
Fuck the Bengals.
No, you were just
Fuck you. We like the Bengals.
What were you were just on Billy's and
I was just on the new Nasty Boys. We talked about baseball. Sorry, Lloyd. I know you don't like it. But.
I like that you guys like it.
And he's going to be touring. He's going to be doing some shows. Look
touring.
for him.
Whatever.
He's going to be getting around.
I'm going to be spending too much money doing open mics.
How about this? Just tell people your 3 favorite open mics to do right now.
The Hub and OTR.
That's Monday nights.
Chameleon and Northside.
That's a lot of nights.
That's on Thursdays.
I would have to check.
And
Well, they also have weekend shows now. So
yes.
I would have to check.
I'm actually going to go to Proof on after this. So
right.
I'll
So
make Proof on Tuesdays.
and that's Tuesdays.
Yeah.
At where?
Proof and Mount Lookout.
Okay. I'm just trying to
No, you're
give
good.
shouts to some of the mics and stuff.
I got you, boo.
When you're in Chicago, you better say hi to VA.
Oh, I will.
Be on his. Maybe have VA
VA
know
knows a lot of people.
I did an episode of that.
I'll have to do that one.
And yeah.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to see Alex, go see Alex. And for sure, check us out on Fuck You We Like the Bengals because he shines. There's episodes where I'm over here and I never give him as much of a laugh as he deserves. But that's I love hearing what your brain kicks out.
It's fun. Like my favorite joke I've ever written for the podcast, and I always shout out why your team sucks constantly.
Yeah.
My favorite joke I've ever written for the podcast made that article series. It was like posted, and then not only that, but it was bravoed in the comments section.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Because like one of my favorite writers on the internet liked my joke, and so did a commenter, and it's one of the most upvoted comments on the fucking article. So I'm like,
He came in fucking beaming when he was telling me that for the first time. He was like, dude, like almost like breathless. Like he was like, dude, you got to. Did you look at that this week? And I was like, no, I didn't look at it this week. He's like, dude, my comment is that, and I was like, that's a fucking good joke. He's like, well, I'm gonna do it on podcast. Like, he was so excited and happy, and Alex is such a sweet and genuine dude. Thank you for being on.
Thank you for doing the show.
thank you.
One of my best buds. He showed up at my fucking surprise birthday party.
Yeah.
My daughter picks on him like she's his little brother. Fucking love this dude. If you get a chance to see him, go see him.
We
You
are
are the
also sponsored by Kneel to No One, KNEELTONOONE.com. Check out kneeltonoone.com and get your glassware. They've got it. He's got it. He's got slime green Cthulhu, Hop Thulu. It looks awesome. He's got these sweet lion and cross sword like icon glasses for FCC Cincinnati. Also hit him up for commissions. He does amazing slaps with some permanent marker on some stickers.
Yeah.
The slaps are amazing. And we are also sponsored by Scarlet Vape and Smoke Shop. Scarlet Vape and Smoke Shop's got the best top-of-the-line glassware for your smoke needs, whether it be a water pipe, a bowl, one hitter. They've got it. You can get Delta 8 to try in your new piece. They've also got Kratom, if Kratom is your thing. Help you sleep. Who knows? But hit them up and let them know you're a bastard, and you get 15% off your order. And they have 2 shops. They have one at 937 Monmouth Street, Newport, Kentucky, 41071, and at 11424 Montgomery Road, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45249. And that's it for the reads.
And shout out to a handful of random people that have friended me on Facebook and told me how much they like the show lately and stuff. That
Yeah, man.
genuinely makes me feel good.
Welcome
me
to the
on Facebook.
family, dude.
Friend me on Facebook, Alex Schubert. Find me on Instagram, Big Schubes. Twitter, Big Schubes. Those are the main ones.
All right. Now pay $5 and catch the rest of this on the Patreon.
Yep. Thanks, guys.